It's no secret that since 2020, our lives have changed dramatically. And while for most Americans, things are starting to feel a little bit more back to normal, we are still seeing this ripple effect from supply chain issues. As a DIYer, this affects everything from lumber, hardware, finishes, and everything in between. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 different places that you might not have considered looking when your normal retailer is out of stock. So let's go. I'm going to start with a place you've probably not considered buying anything other than flip-flops or groceries, Walmart. It is true that Walmart does have some DIY supplies, and I was reminded of this recently because I was looking for a Minwax polyurethane in a specific sheen. Lowe's and Home Depot didn't have it, and a quick search online showed that Walmart actually had it, and my local Walmart had it in stock. Also remember that they carry brushes and rollers, paint, and while their paint may not be as bougie as, say, Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore, our previous house, we painted the entire thing with Walmart paint, and it worked just fine. Also remember that Walmart carries tools. Now, when I first started out over 10 years ago, the tools that I bought, honestly, a lot of them came from Walmart because it was at a time where I didn't know for sure like how deep I was going to be getting into this whole DIY thing. And so I was just buying something quick, easy, cheap. And still to this day, there's some of those tools that I'm still using. If you watch any of our videos, you see me using that skill saw. That skill saw in that video I've had since I started. Bought it at Walmart. Also, Walmart has started doing things a little bit like Amazon where they're using third-party sellers. This is not as tried and true as Amazon, but I will say that it is something to consider whenever you're looking for those hard-to-find items. Speaking of Amazon, let's just park there for just a second. Now, I love to buy local anytime that I can, but let's just be honest, that's not always possible. So, one of the beauties of Amazon is just their sheer volume and massive selection of things that you can purchase on there. Over the years, we bought everything from lighting fixtures, sink fixtures, edge banding, shelf pins, hardware, tools, you name it. However, keep in mind that sometimes you're going to get some things and they're straight from China and they're kind of garbage. Thankfully, Amazon has a pretty simple return policy, and honestly, sometimes you'll get a refund and you don't even have to return the item. And I don't know exactly how that works, but I feel pretty confident it's not good for the seller. A couple of other things to keep in mind is that Amazon's not always the cheapest price. Sometimes you kind of got to really do some shopping around, especially when it comes to hardware and things like that. Prices could be really ridiculous on some things, and then some things will be a really good price. So you really got to look at it, and then sometimes you've really got to compare. In other words, if you go, okay, I need something, but it's cheaper at Lowe's, but they don't have it. And Lowe's, a lot of times, if you're going to order something online from them, it could be a week. Whereas Amazon, I might have to pay $5 extra, but it could be here tomorrow. So you got to kind of really dig around and figure that stuff out and just see kind of what works best for you. But just remember that they're not always going to be the cheapest, and you do have to do a little bit more of your homework, I feel like, to really find some good deals on certain things. Another unlikely place to consider is Ace Hardware. Now, in our area, Ace had kind of gone downhill over the years, and I don't know if they underwent new management or what happened, but I would say in about the last 5 years or so, they've all kind of gotten a facelift, and all of a sudden they've got a lot of selection of different things in there, as well as their employees are extremely knowledgeable. They're really helpful. Honestly, it's a really, really good place to go, at least in our area now. They carry a lot of hardware-related items too, such as nuts, bolts, hinges, screws, light switches. They carry a lot of different brands of tools now too, like DeWalt and Milwaukee. You can get like chainsaws from like Steel, and Ego is like for your lawn care stuff. They have a lot of different things. We honestly bought a lot of the stuff for our French drain. Most of it we bought at Ace Hardware. Ace has a rewards program too, and they also give out coupons, and so that's kind of handy because honestly sometimes their prices are not the cheapest, but between either say their coupons or sometimes they have sales that you're not going to actually find at Lowe's or Home Depot, and then when that happens, that tends to make them the better choice. Another good place to look when it comes to finding materials are local hardwood suppliers. Now, I know that this can, one, be a little bit intimidating, and two, it's kind of different depending upon the area that you're in. So I'm just going to tell you about Dakota Hardwoods, our local hardwood supplier. Before COVID happened, I could buy a sheet of 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood, a 4x8 sheet from Dakota Hardwoods for $65. Now I could go then and go to Lowe's and get a sheet of their 4x8 plywood, which was about 5 or 7 plies, I can't remember exactly, and it was $60. That's just a no-brainer in my opinion. Now, obviously right now prices are kind of all over the map, but they've always fallen even or less than Lowe's or Home Depot. Also carry some plywood that probably you just haven't considered, like walnut plywood or pre-finished plywood, whether it's on one or both sides. That works really good for cabinets. Also, you can buy poplar from them, and it is already pre-milled to face frame dimensions, and so it works really good for that. Literally, they call it face frame material, and so I've used that. Honestly, it's really good. I also carry things like drawer slides, hinges, drawer pulls, different kinds of hardware, glue, screws, a lot of things that you just really wouldn't think about when it comes to material from a hardwood supplier. And while their prices are pretty much unbeatable, the thing that really makes them shine, in my opinion, is the knowledge that their employees have. They're always extremely helpful, and they can answer a lot of questions, and pretty much you can kind of take it to the bank when they tell you something. Now again, your local supplier may be a little different, but in my opinion, it's still worth it to do a little bit of digging around and see what they've got in your area. Going back to the internet, there are a lot of retailers online, but if you're like me, sometimes you're probably a little bit apprehensive about which ones to throw your money at. So I'm going to tell you a few that we've used and that have really worked out really well. Woodworkers Express is a gold mine when it comes to hardware and things of that nature. They're really good. Their customer service is great. We've had great luck with them. However, kind of during the peak of COVID and things, we did run into some supply chain issues again, and so we had to start doing some digging around. We used cabinetparts.com as well as Rock Hardware and had no problems. Everything worked good with them. Both of those were very helpful. Got the parts that I needed. I felt like they got them shipped out in a timely manner, and so no issues there. I really think that they're worth your time if you're in a bind. In times like these, it's definitely frustrating to be in the middle of a project and then not be able to find a piece of hardware or something that you need. So hopefully some of these suggestions will help you along the way. They may not always be the cheapest option, but with these supply chain issues that we're having, sometimes availability, it trumps everything.